Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is the Housewife Did It.
Pop Culture Edition. Mary's
Woo.
Getting Drunk Edition.
Mm.
Halfway There Edition.
Halfway drunk?
Yeah.
Mm.
The mimosa I got, it was like strong for a mimosa. And then I was like, they never brought me my food. And someone was like, you didn't order food. And I was
Oh,
like, oh. I was like, I should have gotten food.
no.
Anyway. So, this is what we're drinking. I bought this for Sammy's grandma once because I saw it in her fridge, and then I was like, "Oh, she like likes that wine. Like I'll get it for her," because I'd never seen it before, and I saw it at like a restaurant, and now she buys it for me all the time, and she's like, "I got the wine you like," and I'm like, "I've never drank that wine before, but it's not bad."
Good.
Okay.
I hate a Riesling, but
It does I don't it tastes like a what does it taste like? What do I like?
Moscato.
Yeah, it tastes like Moscato. Okay. I'm also not just like a huge wine person anymore, but it's all we had. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first off, starting with Bravo tidbits. Rumors are swirling that Lindsay Hubbard and her man are splitting.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought was like, why is this the language of this? Like, it's an ongoing process. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they are actively splitting up. Like, they broke
Yeah.
up or they didn't. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It like seems weird in like this world because normally like they break up
Yeah,
secretly, they wait, they make a statement once all
right,
the dust has settled. So like, are we now actively a part
right.
of their splitting? Like
Especially
we're
with
like in it
him,
with them.
yeah. Especially with us, like, really not knowing who he is. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
odd
don't
that it's
care.
an active situation.
Yeah. Like sucks for
Yeah,
their child and family, but like mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
but not
I
surprised.
no. I such a fun thing to add here is that Paige was going on and on and on page 6 about how she finally got to try a friend of hers, my good friend Lindsay Hubbard's breast milk. And she said, "That's it for me. It's my favorite milk ever for the rest of my life. I want it in my coffee." And I think that's funny.
I hate it. Speaking of Paige, Craig unfollowed Paige on Instagram, and Austin also went on Watch What Happens Live and like just immediately threw Paige right under the bus and then ran her over with it and then backed up on it. Um, he said that Paige moving on with another guy is not a rumor and is a substantiated claim. And Paige commented on a video where of him saying that and said, "Ah, yes, a man I haven't spoken to in 6 months knows exactly what I'm doing," which I
Mm-hmm.
also think is interesting. Like watching that play out on Southern Charm because Austin and Craig are kind of breaking up right now on Southern Charm, like on the season, and he's kind of like cutting ties with Austin. And I think a lot of that does have to do with Paige and how
Mm-hmm.
Austin treated her and talks about her. And so I think that that's really interesting that she hasn't spoken to Austin in 6 months.
Yeah, that's
That makes
true.
me wonder, like, where was Austin and Craig's relationship up until this breakup?
Sure.
Also, Patricia commented something or posted something and said like basically like watch Paige's behavior on this week's Southern Charm and things will become a lot more clear.
Mm.
And so I'm interested in that, but I haven't seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I saw like online a like clip that to me looked like it was a Southern Charm clip, and it
Mm-hmm.
looked like Paige and Craig would have already broken up. Like it was like Shep and Austin talking to Craig, and he's like, "Oh my god, I feel so stupid. Like I bought a ring and like all this stuff." So I was like, "Wait a second, are they somehow like showing us did they like pick cameras back up? Like, am I missing something? Like, I'm so confused. But maybe it's just like gonna be a like a thing about Paige. Like, maybe it's just gonna be like them talking about him moving again. Like, I don't really know.
Or the same conversation we've heard over and over again on Southern Charm and Summer House of like, I'm not ready.
Sure, it just seemed this one was like just all the boys what I saw, and it like seemed like Craig like seemed defeated.
Yeah.
And so I'm
just saying like maybe he's like, well, I bought a ring and then I said something to Paige and she's like, why'd you do that?
Yeah. Well, in the clip he says she told me to buy a ring and I did.
Oh.
So but again, this is just me watching that, so I'm like confused. I'll have to watch the actual show.
Amanda and Kyle, after that Watch What Happens Live episode, Amanda and Kyle Amanda. Mm-hmm. Kyle did nothing. Amanda rushed to Paige's defense in an interview with Page 6, and she said, quote, his Instagram live was ridiculous. I can't even speak to that, talking about Craig. Paige was nothing but kind in her words, and Craig just sent the dogs after her. To not clear up any of the cheating rumors is insanity. That was still your girlfriend of 3 years. Stand up for her a little bit. That cracked me the fuck up. Sitting right next to Kyle Cook, being like, stand up for your ex-girlfriend a little bit. Kyle Cook's like, yeah, I can't even stand up for my current wife.
Yeah. Yeah, so also, I don't know, I guess it was last night maybe? Post
yeah, I think so.
That episode, Craig is back on Watch What Happens Live.
Yes.
It was a mess. So Andy was like, basically the first question, I guess, is like, why, when you were here in December, did you tell, like, he literally said, like, not just did he say, like, me and Paige are good. We're good. Like, whatever. He said, like, I'm kind of over Charleston. I want to move to New York. Like, I'm ready for the New York life. Like, he made it sound like we're, like, moving along. And then we find out that they've been broken up since Thanksgiving. Right. So, Andy's just saying, like, why did you do that? Now, I totally get from Craig's point of view, like, this was, like, days later, like, I'm not going to come on here and tell everyone we broke up. I hadn't discussed that with her. And that's, like, fine. But his explanation is like, okay, when we were at Thanksgiving, she was still talking about wanting to get married. And right before that, she'd been talking about wanting to go on, like, us to, like, book these trips together and stuff. So basically, he just tells Andy, we've been together 3 years, Andy. She called me and told me we were broken up. I didn't know it was, like, real. I didn't know that, like, I needed to come on Watch What Happens Live and, like, act like we were broken up because I didn't know we really were. And Andy said, if she calls you and said, I want to break up, like, isn't that, like, you're broken up? And anyway, so he's like, whatever, which was just strange. But then when asked about, like, why he has not come to her defense, he basically said, like, she lied on Giggly Squad when she said that this was a mutual breakup. Okay, dude, her bad for trying to say, like, we did this together, and Craig is such a great guy, and, like, please don't come for Craig, and it's not about Craig. Like, she's trying to make you look good, dude. Like, in what world are you, like, pissed that...
Yeah, because the way you're telling it, you sound like an idiot.
Yeah, but I also think he wants to keep being, like, the good guy and make her the villain, because then he says, I do not like this idea. People on Instagram keep saying, oh no, Craig and Paige broke up. I guess love isn't enough. And he said, that's not true. It is. Love is enough. If you love someone enough, you make it work. I don't like this narrative that we broke up because we wanted different things. That's not true. Paige wanted different people. And that's fine. She just didn't want to do life with me. And I don't think he was insinuating that, like, she cheated. I think he's just saying, like, it is about who it is, because you would make it work if that's who you wanted to make it work for. And that's fine. But, like, you sound like a baby. Yeah. And then it's not just about, like, why you haven't defended her since this, because he kept saying, it's not my job to defend her. I'm the ex-boyfriend. She's allowed to be single. Like, I don't have to defend her. But Andy's asking, why haven't you defended her about rumors that she cheated on
Right.
you while you were still together? Why have you not said, like, that did not happen? And he's like, or that it did happen. Like,
Right.
but why have you not confirmed or denied this? And he's like, I'm the ex-boyfriend. It's not my job. I don't have to say anything about her.
Yeah.
And like,
Also,
just
like,
very weird.
I think at the we didn't know that they had broken up at Thanksgiving until this episode of Watch What Happened Live
Right.
aired. And so
I think
when
Paige
Austin
said
went
it.
on,
I think Paige
okay.
said it on Giggly Squad after Austin went on and
Okay,
said, okay,
yes.
I'm blowing this up. I
Right.
dumped him. But yes, I think it was
Yeah,
after
like Austin was like, oh, like she's already like with some other guy. Like it's been like months at that point.
Right.
That the time that she announced that they had broken up, it had been a couple months. It's like it's
Mhm.
not crazy if she's with another guy.
Mhm.
And like Austin's trying to make it sound like, oh, she's already with another guy. She must have cheated on Craig.
Right.
And it's like it's been months now.
Right, and it's the same thing these fucking goons do all the time where they act like, well, I didn't say she cheated on me. I didn't say she cheated on Craig. Yeah, but you're all walking around going
Right.
like, isn't that a little suspicious that she's
Right.
doing this? And then when people say like, oh, I wonder if she cheated, Craig's like,
Yeah.
And like, that's so fucking
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah. Dumb. Okay. Tom Sandoval and his girlfriend, Victoria Lee Robinson, are practicing for a kid by fostering a dog. And I would love for parents to weigh in. Are these two even remotely comparable? Like, is
Not
adopting
even
a dog
no, not even adopting.
fostering? Yeah,
We're
true.
gonna give it back.
Right.
But that's the same thing.
That's crazy.
I mean, the one
Crazy
thing
to say out loud.
fostering usually gets you is like worse behaved dogs. Like usually
Yeah.
there's like more, they have more trauma, they have more whatever. So like sure, there's like a challenge there. But here's the thing about having kids, you don't get to give them back. So
And then next week we're gonna talk about John Benet Ramsey, and you're gonna say, guess maybe you could.
Yeah, they're weird. I feel like after the whole like he cheated but then he didn't cheat thing, we've just heard absolutely nothing from them. And so like the next thing, I mean, also I guess I just don't pay attention to them, but like thank you. But for the next thing we hear to be like, we're practicing for children.
Yeah. That's the other thing is like, why do y'all need to be practicing for children?
You do not need to have children.
No.
Please.
Rachael Kirkconnell. Also, Matt James is in like Africa somewhere right now. But Rachael Kirkconnell went on the Call Her Daddy podcast to kind of go over what happened in her breakup with Matt James. And she tried, much like Paige, to reassure listeners that Matt James is not a bad guy, but everyone on this planet disagrees with her.
Yeah.
She explained that they broke up in Tokyo. So those pictures of them in Tokyo, they were in Tokyo together. That's where they broke up. And I guess maybe she got the notification or like someone texted her about it.
Yeah, I think she said like her friend texted her.
Yes, that he made this breakup post as she was boarding a 12-hour flight home and couldn't use her phone. They were like, that's dastardly.
I do find it hard to believe that Rachael Kirkconnell does not pay extra to be able to use her phone on a flight. That's all. Yeah, I'm gonna debunk that right now. As I was typing
that, I thought, don't like rich people pay to not have to use airplane mode?
You can. I mean, she should definitely be able to like access the plane's Wi-Fi. I don't know, but obviously still shitty of him knowing she was getting on the flight. But do I actually believe you couldn't text anyone the whole flight? I don't think so.
Right.
I won't lie to you.
She said basically like they had gotten in a fight about her not being motivated to create content. It sounded like she said that they had gone back to their hotel and she started her period and so she wasn't feeling well, and they had kind of like gotten into like a spat about some kind of content they were supposed to create, and then they went to bed, and then the next day he told her that he could never see himself marrying her and that
Mm,
there are things about her that he would not want in a wife.
great.
And she
That's a
said that,
hell of a lot of relationship drama that y'all went through just for this to not be
yes,
the girl you want to marry.
right. And
I'm
he
so sorry.
said,
You forgave her racism, but like she's not pumping out enough food content for you.
right. And what's crazy, I think, is like people, and like what I'm about to say, people are taking screenshots of him doing this in public on social media. Leading up to this, she said that like what hurt the most about that like comment was that he had been telling her to like start picking out wedding vendors to look at rings. Like he was making it clear to her that they were going to get engaged and then married. And so people are now screenshotting, like, since they do make a lot of food content, people are saying
Mm-hmm.
like, "Ooh, this would be good wedding food," and he's like writing it down, like, "Love that idea," like tagging Rachel in that comment, and like,
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I did see something recently. This is probably me like reaching, but like his birthday post for her was like a song like "You're the baddest in the room," and I
Mhm.
just thought like maybe that isn't like the way like if I was doing like a heartfelt birthday post about like the person I want to marry, like
Yeah.
maybe that's a signifier that he doesn't like take her seriously. Not that like you can't think your girl's the baddest in the room. Like
Right.
but like now I'm like nitpicking and I'm like he didn't post like how like oh my god, like you're incredible, you're going to be an incredible mother. I can't wait to marry you. He posts these like goofy videos of her and videos of her drinking and says like you're the baddest in the room, and it's
Right.
like okay, like but then I just wonder so like did Matt want something different out of this?
Yeah.
Like cuz I think Rachel's always taken this seriously. Like I think she could have run and hid after
Right.
everything that happened after his season, and she was like wait no, like I want to be with this guy and
Right.
I will do it not engaged, I will fight for him. She had talked I think in the past maybe on Call Her Daddy, but I don't know, about how like there were time periods where they were like not together,
Mhm.
so like she's like I don't really know what he was doing, but we weren't technically together, so it's like I don't know.
She did also say on Call Her Daddy, at least on this episode, she said that he told her before the finale of his season, like, it's going to be you, but I am not going to be proposing to
Yeah.
you. And she was like, and I was okay with that. And because I kind of thought about it, and I was like, no, like, yeah, that'd be crazy to get
Yeah.
engaged 2 months in. But she was like, but at this point, like, we've been together 4 years. And so I was kind of like expecting it at some point, and he was telling me to expect it.
Right.
And, he wasn't. People are now also like, people are saying he's gonna come out as gay. They're saying that's why he kisses with his eyes open.
Oh.
Men, is it gay to look at women?
But it could be a
People,
hot take that like you aren't like comfortable enough in the
yeah.
kissing, I guess.
People are also posting a video of him and his mom on his season of The Bachelor talking, and he's like rubbing her leg like up and down her thigh, like a lot. And they're like, no, this guy's fucking weird. And then, um, Claire Crawley posted and said like basically, which we know that she's told production not to let him on her season. I think we all at least agreed at the time that that her reasoning was bullshit. It's like, if you recall, Matt was supposed to be on Claire Crawley's season of The Bachelorette, and Claire Crawley's season was postponed because of COVID. And she said that Matt like posted something or like DM'd her maybe, and said something that she felt was very off-putting, and like signaled like not here for the right reasons, like very social media driven, and the fact that he was best friends with Tyler Cameron. And so, and I don't think he was the only one she felt that way about, but she had this little window of time. And so she told production, I don't want him on my season. I will not choose him. And I don't want him there. And she posted
And
something
they
and
said,
she was
cool,
like,
we have other plans for him.
yeah, she posted something and said, remember when I told production I didn't feel comfortable with this man being on my season, and they rewarded him by making him the Bachelor because they got called out for never having had a black Bachelor. And so they just picked Matt James, who had never been on the show before. And so people are kind of like, which I think people do this when a couple breaks up. Like, they're like, oh, he's always been weird. He's always been shady.
Yeah.
We should have hated him from the jump. And like, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it is seeming more and more, I mean, that's kind of crazy to devote 4 years, but it is seeming more and more like, yeah, like this was just not ever that serious for him.
He was never going to marry her.
He unfortunately had to take it serious, like act super serious when the racist stuff came out and be like, oh my God, like this is a huge deal. And maybe that was really hard for him because he has like some love and care for this girl. But like now I'm just kind of like, was he like, ooh, wait, but this will make people tune in.
Yeah, true.
And if we stay together, we'll be so fun and controversial. Yeah, Andy Cohen says that people are shipping Rachael and Craig.
Yes, one of those people is Taylor Ann Green.
Oh no.
Yeah, she did a magazine interview and they asked her, I think they asked her about like last season when she said something about Paige cheating on Craig. And they were just kind of talking about like how she felt about the breakup with that information in mind. And she said that like it was really sad. And then she said, I am excited about people saying that he should date Rachel Kirkconnell because I think they have a lot in common and I think they would be a really good fit. And so I hope that happens. And I was like, okay.
Interesting.
That'd be crazy, I feel like.
Yeah.
Also, people suspect, I guess, that Leo from Love is Blind is dating Jill Zarin's daughter, like Jill from the original Roni cast, because a picture was posted of them playing tennis together, and people were like, "Oh my God, they're dating!" And then people are like, "They seemingly know each other."
Yeah, seemingly ranch.
Right. Yeah.
A recommendation, a follow up, whatever. I watched The Fall of Diddy on Max. There's also a documentary out on Peacock, but I think it's like shorter. The one on Max is like 5 episodes, like 5 full episodes, so more R. Kelly documentary-ish. I would highly recommend it. I don't want to say it was like so good. That feels weird. One of the survivors that they interviewed in it did say that Diddy once told her, there's a little R. Kelly in all of us. And she thought to herself, not me.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
No. But I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like any of it was like more than what we know. Just always more like detailed and emotional and makes you like, oh God.
Yeah.
And then the last episode, which I'm guessing they like added on after, is it's just a 20-minute interview with an assistant of his. And it was very like Playboy funny or like Hugh Hefner-esque. Like he's saying that like he was constantly like being asked to like bring more stuff in. Like, hey, need 7 more bottles of Astroglide. Need 4 more bottles of baby oil. Need 20 Xanax. But also what's like crazy to me, and this is always crazy to me when these men do this, is that they leave a long trail of evidence.
Right. Don't text them that.
No, better, Mary. Diddy sent it all in voice memos. So like not only did he text it, but we can literally hear that it's him. He can't even be like, someone took my phone. Like it's literally him saying, hey, Phil, can I get 20 Xanax in here? hey Phil, can I get whatever? And then his like other assistant person is like text. It's just crazy. And they asked him like, do you the his attorneys are trying to make the argument that like none of this is illegal and it was all like consensual and people just like do weird things, you know. Um, but I would argue that at the very least, some of those drugs are illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Or you need a prescription for them.
yeah.
And he's like, hey Phil, it's me, P Diddy, Puff Daddy. Like goes through all of his nicknames. He's like, please get me P
Sean
Diddy.
John Combs.
These things.
Yeah. It was crazy. I may have to go back, which is probably fine because Billy will probably want to watch because I looked up and realized I had been scrolling on my phone through the episode where they talked about Tupac.
Mm.
And then I was like,
Fuck.
they'll say it again. And then they didn't.
I just started the Scamanda
Okay.
docuseries.
Which I listened to. I think
yeah.
I told you I listened to as a podcast.
Yes, I listened to it as a podcast too. But it's like releasing every week. Okay. So they only have one episode out right now. But it's good so far.
That's good.
If you liked the podcast, you would like.
Yeah. That's kind of fun. They're like releasing it in a similar way that they did.
I like getting to see her.
Yeah, true. And I did like save Life After Lockup to finally like catch up. And then I started it today. I literally was sitting in my house by myself. I started it and I said, I don't want to watch this out loud. I said, I'm good. And I started Potomac instead.
The best.
Yeah. In breaking news, Taylor Swift sources have made comments about the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni drama, which is as good as her. She is taking a step back from her friendship with Blake Lively. She did not like being called a dragon. And she said, I did not want to get dragged into this.
She didn't want to get dragged to this.
She said, I did not sign up for this. I am not your dragon. And I did not agree to this.
She didn't want to be a baby dragon.
Yeah. It is said that I don't think that her like stepping back from the friendship is going to change this, unfortunately, sweet girl, but it is said that she's probably going to be subpoenaed in this case, and I think that like unfortunately that's probably true. But yeah, it's getting rough. Like, am I allowed to just hate everyone involved?
I know. Like, is it okay to be like, yeah, I don't think either of these people are good people.
Cancel all of them, please.
Yeah.
But like all the interviews now where like Blake Lively just be saying way too damn much, like
yes, girl.
like, whoa.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you before we moved on if you had any thoughts about the Grammys.
Taylor Swift looked hot as hell.
Yes, great.
Obviously. Have you been listening to the mashups that are like his initial on a chain around my upper thigh?
Yeah. And then there's one that's on my upper thigh and burning red.
Oh, cute. I don't know. I have no thoughts. I saw people saying today, like, as soon as I saw that outfit, I knew she wasn't gonna win. Like, that was like a I'm here to have fun, like I'm a cute little girl outfit.
It's
and
fair.
Like, yeah, I think sure. Shocked that she didn't announce anything, but I also
like what would her opportunity have been to announce something, you know?
Sure, but I was gonna say, like, I also don't believe that Taylor Swift like leaves those things up to chance and is like, well, I was gonna do it this day and then I didn't win anything, so I'm just gonna move the day. Like, I think that must have just never been the plan.
And it makes me wonder, like, she must have been so fucking sure she was winning a Grammy last year. You know?
Yeah.
Things I loved: Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo hugging.
I loved the tap dancing number in Sabrina Carpenter's. People thought it was weird. I loved it.
No, I love everything she does. I loved when everyone's saying probably A minor.
Yeah.
And all the Kendrick
I'm
wins.
so excited about Kendrick for Sunday
Yeah.
too.
Me too. I got my Kendrick Lamar CD came in today. I pre-ordered
Nice.
it and it just came in today. So excited. But yes, I'm excited for that too. I loved Doechii
Yeah.
performance,
Obsessed.
Doechii speech, all of it.
Doechie's body.
Yeah,
Give me all of it.
insane.
I'm obsessed.
I hated Benson Boone adjusting his crotch
Oh.
so aggressively. Um, Beyonce's face.
Yeah.
That was fake as shit. Like, come on. Not a fan of that. But yeah, fun. I don't think we've like sat down and watched the Grammys
Yeah.
like in my household ever. But
Yeah.
like I haven't sat down and watched the Grammys in a while, and so it was kind of fun to
Yeah.
watch.
I watched the red
Enjoyed it.
carpet. Like I literally started watching the red carpet live and then I
Yes.
watched all the way through the end, which means I did see Bianca Sensori take her clothes off live
Lovely.
in front of me. It was good. It was great. It was actually very quiet. Like she took her jacket off, no one reacted.
He
They
looked
just kept
like
taking
she
pictures.
didn't want to.
No, yeah. People said that he like whispered to her like, "Now make a scene now." That like he was like telling her like you're gonna.
I also
Did you see his recent stuff that he said? My wife got me to the doctor and she knew I wasn't bipolar and I found out that I just have autism.
I can't wait to talk.
He said a case of autism.
He said that's why I said all those anti-Semitic things, and because I am
Just
one
a touch
with
of the
Elon
tism.
Musk. I also heard though that somebody was saying that he was like demanding to see Taylor Swift.
Yes,
And
I
talk
saw
to
that
her.
everywhere too. That he was like, where is she sitting? Like, he
Yeah.
just wanted like an on-camera moment of them like bumping into each other.
Yeah, that's like sad actually. Like that you're having to beg for like run-ins on camera. That's how like far you've fallen. I also saw a video. I don't know how recent it is. I saw a video from a live show with Drew Barrymore where her stalker was like,
yes, her
in
and
the
Renee
audience.
Rapp.
And did you see Renee Rapp jump in front of her? I was like, get him, get him.
Yeah,
so good.
She said, "Oh hell no."
I've been listening to Renee Rapp all day, so
Yeah.
whatever. But love to the thigh chain also, and Chapel Run.
Yeah,
everything she did, and Cam Saunders.
Yeah, I saw that after. I was like,
yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
With the clown makeup. All right, we're gonna move on to Real Housewives. I am gonna start with Potomac because we haven't gotten a reunion yet. We just wrapped up the season, and it ended. So we have two new actual housewives, Kiarna and Stacy, and Stacy was kind of brought into the group by Karen. And so, but in the finale, Stacy reveals to everyone that she met with Karen before joining the show, and Karen told her to beware of Mia and Wendy. And Wendy, I was shocked how quickly Wendy believed it, because Wendy had just been invited to the White House to meet with the former press secretary, and brought Karen as her plus one, because she was like, Karen's always there for me and I love Karen. And like the quickness with which she was like, oh, I know for a fact she probably said that about me. I was like, why you bring her to the White House then? But so already in a bad place leading up to Karen being found guilty of her charges. And they said she faces up to 2 years in prison, I think. As of the finales, like that's all they knew. But so that happened, and Karen got mad because Stacy said something, like told people that, and then was like very defensive of Mia to Karen about something else. And so when she was doing this dog adoption fashion show, when she invited the women, Karen was like, I won't be coming because of your recent behavior. And I was like, bold.
Yeah, wow.
Karen Huger's calling you out on your recent behavior. Well, she was like, okay, fine. But then she did show up. Karen showed up, but she was like, I'm not walking with a dog. And that's kind of like the main thing that happened. But this is so funny. So it's a dog adoption fashion show. So many funny things are happening. So they announce Wendy and the dog she's walking with, and Stacy announces that Wendy just adopted this dog, and it cuts to Wendy's husband, and he's like, Wendy did what? And then they like it interviews them in the like
Confessionals.
yeah, confessionals. I was like diary room. In the confessionals, and he's like, we have a dog. You didn't need another dog. And she was like, but it was for a good cause. And he was like, no, Wendy, we didn't need a new dog. And he said, when have you ever taken our dog for a walk or cleaned up its poop? And she was like, and it was so cute. And then at the end of the fashion show, they like bust out these like smoke cannons, and it's like poof, 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 and the dog starts shitting everywhere, and it's mayhem, and Bravo blurs out the poop. And it's literally fucking everywhere, and there's just little blurred poops everywhere, and everyone's screaming, and they're like, the dogs are shitting, they're pooping everywhere. And then Karen gets up and runs and vomits in the trash can, and she's like, oh my, the dogs are pooping. And we're like, I was
That's
like,
crazy.
that's ridiculous.
Because
like,
it got loud.
vomiting.
Yeah.
And Stacy was like, I don't understand why they would do that. And Ashley was like, you didn't plan the smoke cannons? And she was like, of course not, because I knew that would happen if we did. And she was like, I was sabotaged. Oh, but so we'll see how the reunion goes. I fear it won't be that interesting because so much of the drama surrounded Karen, and she won't be there. Giselle, oh, this was interesting. Giselle said that Karen does that with all of the new cast members. She takes them out before the show starts and warns them about the other women and like tells them who to be friends with. And that's why they all start out friends with Karen. And then she's like, and then they end up not being friends with Karen.
Yeah.
But it looks like in the reunion they're going to tear into Karen and talk about how awful a person she is. So
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say like it does seem that way in season 1, but I guess no one's new in season 1 because it's season 1. But like as far as like new to the friend group, like she's very like, come on, Ashley, like get under here.
Yes,
you know.
And I think that it doesn't get clocked in season 1 as that because they are all new. But I think in season 1, she seems so much older than everyone else that it seems like she's like a matriarch, like taking everyone under her wing. And I remember thinking when I started watching Potomac, like, this woman is so fucking old. Like, I don't think we've ever had a housewife this fucking old. And so, like, of course she doesn't really fit in with these women and, like, has to kind of, like, take them under her wing kind of thing. And she's, like, a very, like, grandmother figure to them. And then cut forward to this season where she's 39 years old, thanks to Botox. And then also we find out like she actually like she turned 60 in this season, but she's really not that much older than Giselle, like less than 10 years older than Giselle. And but also in the first season Ashley was
26.
So, you know, it just is, it's an interesting dynamic, I think. But I think as the series goes on, Karen starts acting younger. And it kind of comes across differently.
Charisse is like, I'm the grandmother and Karen's the great grandmother.
I loved Charisse.
But I also think that you have to act younger as the show goes on because like Giselle was saying like, yeah, she's got her etiquette, but it's like 1700s etiquette. But like as you're on TV and you need people to like you, you gotta adapt and you gotta become cool.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And apparently you gotta wrap your car around a pole. So
She's trying to stay hip. So moving on to the Housewives we have reunions for. Um, Starting with New York. I think this must have been the end of the
yeah, must
reunion. It was
only be
only
2
two
parts.
parts. Um, but so first of all, before we get into that, people are pointing out that Bryn's carbon monoxide text came from the movie adaptation of Luckiest Girl Alive,
Hmm.
and I already thought that that text was god awful,
Yeah.
like level of cringe, and then seeing it side by side with that scene from Luckiest Girl Alive, I was like,
Mm,
it just piles on of like she lies so
yeah.
much and like oh
Yeah.
my god. But
It's
so
like Sherry Papini-esque. Like this like is she infatuated with like movie? Like I don't know.
yeah.
But
So in this episode of the reunion, I just like I don't know. I feel like this reunion, I was just sad like watching this.
yeah.
Like Bryn did not stop crying
Yeah.
the whole time, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god!" Like it, and it's just sad. And it was what I think what made it so hard to watch was when she would say something and like she was like being like honest and like going back to something and they're like that's not how it happened and she was like just felt so defeated like no one
Yeah.
will ever believe me because I have this reputation as like a liar
Right.
and
Yeah,
that just kept happening.
it was weird. I will confess that when I watch shows on Bravo, like I a lot of times, unless it's like Vanderpump where I like really feel like I like know these people, I don't really look at it super critically. Like I like kind of
Mhm.
believe people and I like whatever. And Billy will be like, that was fake or like that was put
Yeah.
on or whatever. And so throughout the whole reunion, he kept going, she's like wackadoodle crazy, right? Or then they'd have another scene and he'd go, this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And I said, like, I'm gonna say, like, I think we are having very different
Yeah.
feelings from this. I said, I think
Yeah.
everyone else that's watching this and not like I'm not trying to be like that's the patriarchy or like that's boys, but I said like I think most people watching this are feeling like oh my god, like this is so awful for
Yeah.
all of them involved and like
Yes.
yeah, are we like Bryn started some of this or Uba started blah 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 or whatever, sure, but like I think everyone's watching it and they're like oh my god, like this is bad, and I said like truly when Jenna, who I think handled things with Brand like very well, but when
Yeah.
Jenna said like it was careless, which was like
Yeah.
I do think how we all like would agree like that's a good word to describe it. Like we
Yes.
just have to be more careful about the things that we say.
Yes.
But I feel like you saw Bryn's like heartbreak when she was like
Yes.
careless. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be
And
careless, but it's like when you
right.
think about everything, not saying the right thing about the Jessel situation. Like you just missed it, but that's like a huge difference. Like
Right.
that's careless. And so I just think
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really just I said Billy like I don't think she's like wackadoodle. Like I think she is like unwell.
Yes.
Like I
And I
think she
think
needs so much help right now.
I one thing that like I think related to like I'm trying to think what I was gonna say. Related to Jenna
Mm,
and what Jenna was saying. Um oh, when they played back the like when they were like, "Oh, that's when I realized she was lying."
sure.
She kind of like she said like, "No, I really meant like I did say it to her,
Yeah.
but I don't think she clocked it." She was like, "I did say it."
Yeah.
And like kind of was like y'all don't believe me. Um and I felt like this last season too, but like one thing that like I guess like saddens me about Bryn is that I feel like Bryn is a like a prime example of someone who's biracial like struggling with not being white enough and not being black enough because she
Mm-hmm.
is white passing. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they brought up like her comment about not wanting Uba to seem like an angry black woman, like it felt like it was very hard for her to defend herself on that and be like, but I am a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And like I it's almost almost feels like people don't believe her with that. The way that they kind of like react to her, which is like understandable. She's viewed in the world differently than Uba is. But I think that I think that's something that she really struggled with in this episode was like trying to defend herself from like her view of herself.
Right.
Like, I feel like I'm telling the truth about these things and no one believes me. And like, I don't feel like what I said was wrong because I identify as a Black woman. And like, it was just very hard, I think, for her to get anything out and have it taken in any way how she wanted it to be.
Yeah, Billy like made a face when she said that because I don't think Billy has watched Roni with me until this season, so I don't think he knew.
So you wouldn't know, right?
That Bryn is Black, and so I like paused it for him, and I was like, "Yep, like we do know that, like she's biracial," and I said like I do struggle a little bit with her like when she was like giving the example of like what Black women face in the world, and she's like, well, you're not gonna get a fair edit, me and you don't get a fair edit like Aaron does,
right?
And I do unfortunately wish that like Bryn would acknowledge like
she looks more like Aaron than Uba,
right, like Sai, Jessel, Raquel, and Uba might be being treated kind of similarly, but like, and maybe the fact that people now know that Bryn is biracial could affect the way they view her. And like she could be getting microaggressions and racist comments. But like as far as just like walking through society, like you are probably being treated the way that Aaron is being treated.
Right.
And so like I do think that was a little hard to hear her try to be like, me and Uba have this thing where like I can say these things to you and we relate in this way and the world is unfair to us in this way. And it's like,
and she's like, I would hope that you would know that I would never say that in that way. And like,
and I think to that point, like she was never,
your friend, right?
Because she knows that she's a Black woman. But as far as like society and like people trying to put the angry Black woman trope on Bryn, do I think that happens as frequently as it happens to even Raquel? Or honestly, even Jessel, who's not Black, but is like a woman of color, like, no, it probably doesn't happen at the same frequency. I also think that like when you talk about like her trying to like figure out herself in these moments, I think it's really, really, really hard for people to reconcile like the way that Bryn talks about sex.
Yeah.
And like, but that one's easier for me to go like, that's pure maladaptive coping. That she is just like, if I joke about sex, if I make it funny, if I make it not serious, and now we know that this assault happened to her before this show even started or like very early, and so this whole time when she's been making jokes about sex, like this has already happened to her. And I think, and then she says like, I haven't actually been having sex, like I'm just saying this but I'm not like doing any of it.
I'm not actually fucking anyone's dad.
Like I think that that's hard for people too, because they think that they can say whatever they want about Bryn sexually because Bryn says it.
Right.
Which I do think they all kind of like figured out this season. Like they were like, okay, like never mind.
Yeah. It reminds me, the like race conversation with Bryn reminds me of like when all the people were getting fired from Vanderpump Rules. And Max Boyens was fired because they found old tweets of him using the N-word. And then he, like, apologized for it. But, like, also when he apologized for it, he was like, but also to clarify, I am biracial. And I was raised by Black parents. And so, like...
And it makes it complex.
Right. And it reminded me of that, like, people were kind of, like, not sure what to do with that. Like, they were like... So, like, is it okay for him to say it? Or because he's white passing? Like, it's different. And I think that it's just... I think that it's... For some people, race is, like, more nuanced than, like, for others. And I think that makes sense. But, like, I think that's just hard on top of all the other things that Bryn struggles with. I think that's part of it.
And it's not to say it's, like... Bryn's job to walk around saying like, I believe I'm Black, but since you don't, like, I guess I can't claim any oppression.
Right.
Like, that's certainly not at all what I mean. I think it would have been refreshing in that moment to hear her say, like, I put myself in the same shoes as Uba because I relate to Uba in a lot of ways, but I should have realized that, like, society doesn't view me the way they view Uba. Maybe not even just
Yeah.
because Uba's, like, physically looks black, but also because
Yeah.
Uba is an immigrant and, like,
Yeah.
has an accent and, like, has all these other layers that, like, could make people have thoughts
Yes.
about her, you know?
Yeah. I I will say I sometimes I wish that Brid would wear her hair natural because it looks so pretty in
Hmm.
pictures. Um, and I
Although
feel
her
like
hair looked incredible at the reunion.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So good.
Um, I'm trying to figure out or remember, I guess, at what point like like a switch flipped with Uba that she was like that they because they had that heart to heart when they were on the break and Andy had to come get his phone, but like it seemed like they ended at least okay,
Mhm.
and especially considering that they weren't even talking when they got to the reunion. But like I'm trying to figure out what it was that like Uba was like, oh fuck, like I feel bad for her, and like I
I think she
this is
was
sad.
I think it was starting as soon as Bryn, like, told the story and they
Hmm.
all heard that this guy still lives in New York, that Bryn sees him. I think Uba
And then Uba
started,
said like I would kill
I
him.
would kill him. Yeah. I think she started to, like, soften, but then I still think she wanted to say all of her
Yeah.
things. And so she's still like, I'm done with you. I want nothing to do with
Yes.
you. But then, yeah, I don't remember, like, a specific moment,
Yeah.
but I do think she did just, like, watch it. I mean, and I think that's, like, so real. Like, they were all just watching Bryn break, like, the
Yeah.
whole
It's
time.
like when watching Uba hold Bryn while she was saying they hate me, they all hate me, and Uba
Mhm.
said no, they don't. They love you. I love you. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh my god, like this
I
is gut
actually I
wrenching.
think that's the moment. I think
Yeah.
Uba just wanted to hug her to be nice, but I think
Yeah.
Uba still thought, like, we're not gonna be friends, but, like,
Right.
I can't watch this person hurt, so let me go hug
Right.
her. And then Uba was like, wait a second, like, this is a person I love. And then
Yeah.
Bryn took the hug and went and talked to her and said whatever. And I do think Bryn went in a little further because Uba said, like,
Yeah.
I'm still not there. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
long time. And Bryn said, don't say that.
I
And
know.
Uba's like, no, it is gonna be
Uba's
a
like,
long
fuck me.
time. But
Yeah.
how do you feel about Uba and the whole, like, let them be scared of me? Who cares? Like, we didn't hear Uba, like, Andy asked her, like, these women are saying that they, like, censor what they say to you because they are scared of how you're gonna react because you blow up. And did you miss all this? Is this because I
I
watched
must
the
have.
extended cut again?
I gotta watch the extended cut.
Jeez,
I
you
I don't
really
remember.
did gotta, because
I
they said fuck so
remember.
many times. It was so good.
I remember at the I guess this was in part one though, that he asked if she was gonna be Uba hot, and she was like, "No, I'm Uba Zen." And I was actually gonna say, I feel like she kind of came in the opposite way in this reunion than she did last year. Because remember, last year she came in and she was like dogpiling on everyone, and they were like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck is wrong with you?
Where's that even
Like,
coming from?
why are
Yeah.
you mad at us?" And
Yeah.
she was like, "I thought that's what you were supposed to do at reunions." And
Yeah.
I feel like this year she came in so like soft
Yeah.
with everyone, and so I must have missed that.
Basically, he was like, what do you say to the fact that in all of their confessionals throughout the whole season, these people said, like, I don't say that to Uba because she'll freak out, or I just am not going to mention that to Uba because she yells, or whatever. And she basically was like, not going to apologize to them. They did mention, like, kind of the diva stuff where, like,
Mhm.
she was mad about the dead bird in the room at
Yes. Yeah,
Raquel's and
I
stuff
did
like
see
that.
that.
But he was asking, like, they are scared of you sometimes, which I did think, like, maybe we should have prefaced that, like, we're not trying to add to what Bryn already
Right.
said. But I mean, that is kind of what the women said in their confessionals. Is like, I'm scared
Yeah.
to set off Uba, but she basically started screaming, and she was like, I don't care. Let them be afraid of me. And then she went for Aaron in the reunion, and I just was kind of like, okay, I don't know. I get it
Yeah.
because of the finale. We're all like on Uba's side, but
Yeah.
also like she did have some poor behavior this season. Like we should
Yeah.
not like let her off the hook
That
as
dead
like
bird thing
the
like pissed
season's
me off.
victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had to like Sai having to tell her like, Uba, like I knew what you meant. Like you didn't necessarily mean the ocean, but like, can you imagine if we went to where you are from
Right.
and we said this on TV?
She was like, it's okay because I love Puerto Rico. And they were
I,
like, okay, but you didn't go on TV and say I love Puerto Rico. You went on
mm-mm,
TV and said the water's fucking nasty. You'll
mm-hmm.
get sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I guess, like main thing, was they brought out Rebecca Minkoff, of course, and I forgot the Scientology thing. That bitch went on and on about Scientology and how offensive it is to call it a cult, and I was like, I have never seen someone double down on Scientology like this. Like,
Also, like
aside,
claiming that ever calling any religious organization a cult is, what did she
that
say?
was
A slur?
She said it's what did she say?
It was more
Hate
than the
speech.
word
Hate
hate speech.
speech.
I was going to say it was more
Yes.
than the word derogatory. It was like very dramatic.
She
So
said
you're
that's
saying
hate
never
speech.
again in the world can we call something a cult? Like that's dangerous,
That's
babe.
crazy. I was like, I have never seen someone so gung ho about Scientology since I watched Nip Tuck. And those people were fictional, and you were supposed to be like, it's weird that they're so gung ho about Scientology. That was crazy. And then we find out that she and Aaron are not friends anymore. Aaron says she's the most self-centered person she's ever met in her life. And then they start talking about like these texts between Rebecca and Aaron, specifically like about the show. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't understand what Aaron's mad about entirely. But I mean, okay, I do get what she was saying about like the like you texted me like I don't know, something about like the episode where her dad aired,
You
and
texted me about my tone in
yeah,
a like silly little conversation we had, knowing that my dad is dead and that
right.
episode was gonna air. I think is like
I was
Aaron.
like,
Aaron just kept saying, "You're texting me about my tone when real things are going on."
right. Like I was like, I get, but I also feel like it's only for Erin, if that makes
Right.
sense. Like she feels that way because she's emotional about what's going on in her life, but like it's not wrong of Rebecca necessarily to text her and be like, "Hey, I don't like this, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And like she was acting like Rebecca was like tone deaf. And like, oh, you're coming for me. Like she's like, you come to me on the day of my father's death. Like that's how she was acting. And I was like,
Yeah.
girl, like I get you're like
Yeah.
raw at that point, but like you have to like take that into consideration. Like I'm feeling this way because I am emotionally unstable right now, or I'm upset
Yeah.
about something. It's not Rebecca's fault.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And then it's always funny when like, which if they were like closer friends than this, of course, like she owed you more than that. But it's always funny when they say like, you didn't reach out to me when my dad died or when the episode aired, and they're like, yes, I did, I called, and they're like, oh,
yeah,
you called once.
I
And
know. I'm
Rebecca's like, how many times did you want me to call? Or then
yeah,
she's
you
like,
didn't pick up.
but it was kind of funny for Becky to say, but I sent you that lovely poem, and Aaron goes, oh, a poem.
I was like, and then when she was like, it hurt my feelings when Sai called me boring in her confessional, and because like I said something to Sai about it, like when it got brought up on the show, and she's like, oh no, that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant. I meant you're nice. But I kind of like, I think it got taken that way. Like I was like, oh, she's so nice, and then when they said it. And she was like, and then you said I was boring, and you like doubled down. And Sai, I don't remember what exactly she said, but she was like, she's like, this conversation is so nice.
yeah.
I was like,
And Aaron said, you're not even nice.
gooped. I know, yeah. I was crazy. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I think that's it for Roni.
I think so.
From me, anyway. Switching to Salt Lake City. So I also want to talk a little bit about The Bachelor. Um, so first of all, on Watch What Happens Live, after the first reunion episode, Bronwyn said she did not buy anything from that jeweler because they had talked to Lisa about her. However, on the reunion, she seemingly learned for the first time about that jeweler talking to Lisa about her. Well, after she claimed she bought the jewelry and would show receipts.
She considered wearing the jewelry
Right.
to the reunion.
To the reunion.
But she just chose not to because it didn't match her outfit.
Baby.
Yeah. That's not a good look. No. I was really excited for her to bring the receipts.
Yeah. I was also a hard reunion to watch when they talked about Mary's son, and that was really sad. One thing that I got stuck on, I guess, was when they brought Brittany out. And suddenly Angie's like, Brittany's the nicest person in the world. Like, I love that Brittany let me wear my dress and she didn't wear the same dress as me. Brittany's an angel. And I was like, why are you being so nice right now?
Yeah.
But so then they start talking about Jared. That's his name? Jared Osmond. And Bronwyn's
micro penis.
Yes. Bronwyn's like, he's disrespectful to women. Like, Mary is like, he be in my DM sometimes. And Bronwyn reads a text or DM that Jared sent her about on the after show. She said that he had a micro penis and he called her a bitch. And then he also tweeted about her and called her a bitch. And Brittany was like, I didn't know he said that to you. And that's why we are 100% over, done with that relationship. And I was like, I guess I don't know when this was filmed, but I was like, didn't he after the show aired come out and be like, this is my girlfriend and I love her? And so I'm like, so are they together? When did they break up? When was this filmed in relation to all of that?
When she said they were broken up, the girls, maybe this was on the extended cut, but the girls were like, he was at our some party, like a premiere party or a finale party or something. They were like, we just saw him. And she was like, he was there as a friend. And they were like, you were making out. And she was like, we're broken up, Andy. But
that's messy.
Yeah. I mean, she says she's 1000% done with him, but, and she says it was because of he would say all these mean things to her. And they shared some of them, that he would say all these mean things about her. He said he got her on the show. He's the reason she was on the show.
Yeah.
He gave her relevance. And then she was like, but then comes the love bombing.
Yes.
And then Brian
they were like, stop believing it if you know that's what it is.
He said, yeah, you're saying that's what it is.
Yeah.
But he's so weird.
And also, it was crazy to me that Heather was like, I will not disrespect the Osmond name on national television. Yeah. I was like,
yeah,
Heather,
but
what the fuck?
And then Lisa, and she does this every year, because every single season we're gonna talk about how Mormonism is oppressive and it's hard for people and people have religious trauma. And every single year Lisa's gonna be like, that's not how you have to be Mormon. They don't shun me. I do whatever I want. And it's like, it is weird for all of us to understand how Lisa Barlow is in such good standing with the people who kicked Bronwyn out of their family, with the Osmonds, with all of these Mormon royalty apparently.
Yeah.
But she owns a liquor brand and she doesn't wear her garments and doesn't follow any of the rules.
Right.
But then her and Brittany are on the same team trying to be no, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can live Mormonism the way that you want. And Heather and Whitney are never gonna stand for that. They're always gonna say yo, that is not the Mormon church I grew up in. You can, but you'll feel shame.
You won't
for
be in
it.
good standing.
Yeah.
I'd also like when Andy was like, Brittany, how did it feel when the women rallied around you and you? I was like, is that what we're calling
Mary literally
what
said,
happened?
duh.
I was like, would we say that's rallying
Yeah.
around her? I don't know. That was really the only thing that stood out to me in that reunion episode, to be honest. And I might be missing something, but it felt very chill. Other than that, they talked about the texts. Again,
Yeah.
they talked about Brittany's kids. They talked about. She kept saying that
Bronwyn was
her
the reason.
her children weren't talking to her because of things that Bronwyn said on the show. And Andy was like, "No, because on the show you talked about your kids not talking to you." And she's like, "Yeah, because of
In
Bronwyn."
interview for the show.
Right. He said, and then they pulled up
Yeah.
her tape, and he said, "No, but you before the show you were saying that your kids weren't talking to you." And she was like, "No, it's because of the show." And like I was like, "This is giving me a fucking headache." Like, move on.
Real question.
Mm-hmm.
You have two choices. Between Salt Lake City and Roni, was the Salt Lake City lighting really bad? Or were the Salt Lake City makeup artists really bad? Because the blush on the Salt Lake City ladies
I
was
don't know.
crazy. It was crazy. And I
I
don't know if they just fucked them with the lighting, because it was
I don't
every
think
single
I
one of them.
noticed.
Oh.
I don't think I noticed because I was busy thinking, have they decided that all reunions everyone has to wear the same color, and
Like a
Angie
theme.
and Lisa just didn't listen because
I
they wore
think that they probably
purple?
give them a palette, because
But
like
like,
on New York it was like all some sort of
yes, like black
shimmery,
and
some sort
gold,
of
and
yeah.
but
And
like
I
I also feel like, and we can cut this if it's offensive, but like on Potomac, like since the first season, they've made it very clear that like that's how they do it. Like they pick a color, everyone wears that color, or like within that color. And it reminded me of when I got married. One of my friends from work, she asked me like what colors my wedding was, and I said like, oh, it's like mostly pink, like rosy pinks and like some navy. And she was like, oh, okay, because like, and she's black, and she said like, because black people, like, we wear what your wedding colors are. And I remember that. And then so when they did that in Potomac, I was like, oh, maybe that's just like because like that's what they want to do as black women, is like we're all gonna wear the same color. And they've done it every year since then. I feel like I've seen the same on like Dubai, and quite a few of those women are also black. And so I kind of, but I felt like I hadn't seen that in other reunions. And so when they all came out in red, and except for Angie and Lisa, I was like, what is happening? Like, I was like, did they plan it, or like is it just a crazy coincidence that every single one of them except two showed up in red?
Yeah, my theory is that probably, because I do think it's been in recent years, or like recent, maybe even like this year, that I've seen on multiple reunions that I'm like, oh, they at least match like in
Yeah.
vibe. I think probably it's more like that, and they probably were like, we're going for pinks, reds,
Yeah.
like this. And honestly, if you told me we're going for pinks and reds, like most people are gonna pick red,
Not I.
especially. Sure, but like especially if you're like trying to look hot, or
Right.
you're like trying to like
Because like last
be a
year, their colors were
showstopper.
all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they said Valentine's theme and like dress how you dress for the Bezos party, and they said red.
True. Um. I don't like that sound. Last thing I wanted to talk about was The Bachelor aired since we have been away from you, and not bad, I guess. I do like, and I know everyone else feels the same way. There are some different bodied women. The biggest woman, she's not a big woman by any stretch of the imagination. She's a model. I think that's cool. But I really like these women. They had great intros. They're really funny. They're all really fucking weird.
Mm.
And so I'm like, oh, like he likes that? Like, did he ask for weird ass
Or we're
women?
running out of people who will be on
Right.
The Bachelor.
But in this last episode, I was like, I don't know how much I like Grant, to be honest. And I said that today at our little happy hour thing, and one of my coworkers was like, girl, you crazy. And I was like, I don't know. Because so in this, oh, also they changed something. The person who got the first impression rose automatically got the first date, which I was like,
Mm.
fuck yes, like it should always be like that. Because the first impression rose people get thrown to the wayside because they don't want to give them the first date, and they should. But so she automatically got the first one-on-one, and so then there were two group dates. And on the second group date, it was a basketball game, because apparently Grant is very into basketball, and there was like an MVP and blah blah blah. And they were mad at this one girl because she like took him away from the game to like make out with him, and like, that pisses him off. And then they got to the evening part of the date, and Grant came in and sat down with them, and it was like crickets. And he was like, I just feel like the vibe is off in here, and like nobody's saying anything. And it reminded me of on Claire's season, that date that they went on where she sat down and she was like, is anyone gonna pull me to talk to
Oh,
me?
yeah.
And I was like, is that what he's talking about? But then my friend was like, no, I think he was saying that he felt like they had been arguing and they stopped
Sure.
when he came in. But so then he pulled one of the women, and I guess actually I guess it wasn't the basketball date because she had sung a song. So I guess it was the talent show date. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he pulled one of the women, and he was like, hey, like I feel like the vibe is off. Is something going on? Is there tension? And she's like, oh yeah, like I feel like there's tension, and like I totally get what you're saying, and like I feel like the vibe is off too. And he's like, okay, like yeah, I thought so, like I feel that. And then it like pans to like her interview, and she's like, I like feel closer to Grant than ever.
Mm.
And I was like, what kind of tension does she think he was asking her about?
Do you feel the tension?
Like people are posting TikToks of them like their first reaction to that, and they're like screaming. They're like, "What the fuck is she talking about?" Because like he was like, it felt like also somebody,
She's
I
like,
think
he wants to watch all of us women fuck. And now
I
I'm so excited.
who was it that we said, I might have been either charity season or Jen's maybe, but there was someone that we were like, if you're the one that the lead is going to ask about problems in the house, and like you're their sounding board, you're
Yeah.
not going to be their person, you're their
Yeah.
bestie. And
Yeah.
like it felt very much like that. Like he was like, tell me the goss, like what's
Yeah.
happening in there.
He said, you're
um
right, the apple guy.
yeah. And then he one of the women he sent home this week, shocked, I cannot believe it. On the first night, I thought she was going to get the first impression rose. They were making out, they were like, they hit it off. And then she got no airtime this week, and then she went home, and she I don't know where she said it, but said something about like, wait until the women tell all, and then you'll know what really happened. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, tell us, tell us.
Tell us
I need
now.
to know
Tell
what really
some.
happened. Yes. Um, but it's like certainly an interesting season so far, and I really do like the women. But I don't know, something is like off about him, I feel. And like somebody said that like people are like, he just gives major player vibes. Like he kissed so many women on night one, and then I don't know, he like be singing to them and stuff. It's
Mm.
kind of weird. I
Yeah.
don't know. Not a huge fan of him so far, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
I just think
But
it's
also
all
he's
so
one that,
strange.
if you remember, I said like he didn't make it super. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
pretty far, but like not super far. I don't really like we know anything about
Kind of
him.
like Jen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe he
That's
will.
all I got.
Cool.
That's it from me.
That's all, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.